Hello, everyone. This is going to be a open house or parent orientation and student orientation for 10th grade honors world history class. My name is Brian White. I will be the teacher for this class coming up this school year, and I look forward to meeting everyone and seeing everyone very soon. But before you come into class, I would like for you to actually watch this video and review it. And you can go back and rewatch it as many times as you need to clarify things, as I know that that's going to be, things are going to be interesting and different than what we're used to. And this will be a new way of going about learning. And so, with that, we're going to walk through some of the things that are going to be going on for this school year and for this semester with Honors World History. So, before we begin, once again, my name is Coach Brian White, and I will be your virtual teacher for the first semester. And I'm so excited to get this new and unique school year started with you. I have been teaching for 21 years, and I have an extreme passion for all things history and social studies related. This year will be unlike any one that we have ever encountered before, but I hope I can make this class interesting for you and provide you with some great knowledge and tools to help you become aware of the importance of the social studies discipline and its impacts on our world. I will be teaching world history and government and economics this semester. I look forward to a great school year as we embark on a new way of delivering learning and knowledge to you. And of course, this is my introduction to you guys. If you want to go back and read it, you can. So, with that being said, let's look at distance learning and what's going to be involved. If you're watching this video, naturally you have enrolled into the virtual learning program. Virtual learning is a fully online interactive learning tool. Students will have a set schedule. And hopefully, you've gotten that schedule by now, which you should have. And you will learn through live video, which will be face-to-face video conferencing with teachers through using Google Meet or Zoom. And we may go back and forth between these, but I'll let you know as we go through the semester which ones we'll be using. And again, please make sure that you're familiar with how to use Google Meet and how to use Google Zoom. We are going to be going over some of these things in the coming days, so hopefully that will help. All assignments and assessments will be done through online learning platforms, and it will be a blend of both asynchronous and synchronous online learning. And I'm going to go through and tell you what asynchronous and synchronous actually means. When we are doing synchronous instruction, what that means is it's going to be an approach where teachers and students are online at the same time with a set schedule. The teacher provides learning resources and tasks through Google Meets or Zoom during the set class time. So we'll be online together. Generally, these sessions will run anywhere from 30 to 45 to an hour, where we will be online together actually doing things together. So you can expect that during synchronous instruction. In asynchronous instruction, this is an approach where teachers and students are not online at the same time. The teacher provides learning resources and tasks through Google Classroom. So this might be an assignment that's assigned during class for them to work on their own. And usually this is generally the last 30 minutes of class. So that would be asynchronous instruction, and any homework would naturally be asynchronous instruction as well. So that is the model that we'll be using, synchronous and asynchronous. And hopefully you understood that. If not, you can ask questions on it later on once our classes begin. Next is the schedule. If you haven't seen this yet, here's the breakdown of how this actually works. Of course, the first block is going to be from 9 o'clock to 10:30 a.m. Synchronous instruction will occur between 9 to 10 a.m. and then asynchronous instruction will be the last 30 to 45 minutes. which would end up making a 90-minute block. Block 2 is from 10:35 to 12:05. Synchronous instruction again occurs between 10:35 to 11:35. Then the asynchronous again 30 to 45 minutes, and so on. You have lunch between 12:05 and 12:55. If anyone needs any help or anything during that period, there may be live meetings that are put up for students to go to during that period if they need any assistance or help or intervention in any way during that time. Block 3 runs from 12:55 to 2:25. And again, from 12:55 to 1:55 is synchronous instruction, meaning you have to be online. And then, of course, the last 30 to 45 minutes would be asynchronous. Block 4 from 2:30 to 4 p.m. From 2:30 to 3:30 would be synchronous. And from the rest of the time leading up to 4 o'clock would be asynchronous. I will have fourth period or fourth block as my planning period, and I will be available during those times as well if someone needs help or assistance with anything or has any questions. Expectations, students, for you, here's what we would ask. You ensure that you have a device plus a username or password. You participate in activities offered by the teacher. You have instructional resources ready and know how to contact teachers for support. You know when things are due. You know your due dates for your assignments. And you're going to create a workspace and schedule time to engage in learning. For the parents that are viewing this video, we would ask that you ensure that students have access to a device and instructional materials that have been supplied by the school. You may use your own device, but if for some reason you do go back to school after the first semester, then you'll still be using that same device that the school provided. You can't use your own device at the schools. Also, parents, we're asking you to ensure students have access to the internet. If you don't have an internet connection, naturally you can't do your work. Create a realistic work schedule and space for learning. Maintain communication with teachers and create an environment that will support student learning. And you will monitor district and school communication. So those are the things we are asking for the parents to do. Some of the rules for virtual learning. Number 1 is to be prepared. Just like any class at school, it's important to have all of your materials ready to go. For virtual school, that means you'll need to know the link, what time you need to be there, and what books or printouts you're going to need. Make sure if you are going to be using a pencil that you have it sharpened in advance so you can be totally prepared to listen and write down notes when the teacher comes on. Number 2, be on time. Let's not waste the teacher's time. Be on time for your class meetings or even a few minutes early. It's better to be a little bit early than a little bit late. It's a good idea to test out the class link in advance of your call time so you know that it works and your system is up and running. So always be prepared for any of that. The third one, learn how to use the virtual classroom program. Whether it's Zoom or Google Meets, it's important to know how each one of those works. Learn how to enter the virtual classroom, mute and unmute yourself, turn off your camera and shut down the program. If you need a chat, make sure you can access the chat feature and make sure that there are ways to indicate you're raising your hand. Find this out before the class starts, and hopefully we'll go over some of those things in the coming days. Number 4, sometimes it's good to use a headphone with a mic. It's easier for the class to hear you, and it also cuts down on distractions and outside noise that may be going on around you. So those are just a couple of the first rules we're going to look at. Next one would be stay in one spot during your call. Try not to get up and move around or head to the kitchen for a snack during synchronous instruction. Not only is that distracting to your classmates, it's also distracting to the teacher. So please make sure that you're staying put in one place during those synchronous instruction times so that they're not a distraction for the students or the teacher. 6, make sure that you dress the part. While school uniforms aren't required for virtual schooling, you do want to make sure that you look presentable for class and you're dressed appropriately. Make sure any shirt you're wearing doesn't have any offensive graphics or obscene language on it or text on it. Think about what you'd wear to school and dress accordingly. Number 7, wait your turn. It's tough enough for teachers to manage a class when you are there in the same room. Virtual classes add additional challenges. Follow the teacher's instructions for volunteering and don't blurt out an answer unless you are called on. It can be a good idea to raise your hand instead of interrupting so that the teacher can finish the instructions before you jump in. And one of the things that I'm going to ask is you keep your microphone on mute unless I call on you. You raise your hand if you need to say something. You let me know during the virtual lesson, and then I can allow you to speak. So make sure you follow those rules. Number 8, remember this is school. While it might be exciting to see your friends finally for the first time in a while, this is not the time or place to chat about the latest TikTok or what you have for breakfast or so on. If your virtual classroom has a chat feature, stay out of it unless the teacher requests that students use it. Chat is public to everyone in the class, including the teacher, and it can be distracting. Remember, and this is an important thing, that everything we do is being recorded, whether it's in the chat room, whether it's virtually online. All of it is recorded because I have to save these lessons just in case someone misses a day or they need to follow up on a lesson. So again, remember, everything is recorded. Some of the supplies that you may need, you're definitely going to need your laptop. If you picked up or went to the device pickup the other day, then make sure you have your laptop. Or if you want to use your own personal device, you may do that. Just remember that your personal device won't be used if you end up going back to school next semester. You can only use the laptop that the school provided you with. One other thing I would ask you to get is a small whiteboard and an expo marker. The whiteboard would be if I, call on you or call on the class as a whole to show answers. You can write your answers on that whiteboard and then put it up in front of the screen. So a small whiteboard and expo marker would be great. That way I can know what you're saying without having to unmute everybody at the same time. We can actually do it on a whiteboard. Some of the applications that you're going to need for this class, of course, ClassLink. You should know how to get to that by now. If you don't, there is a video that I put out that you guys can go and watch to see how to get to ClassLink. From there, you can access Google Classroom. We're going to go over Google Classroom first few days of school to make sure you guys are familiar with it. We're also going to be using Zoom or Google Meet, so you need to get familiar with both of those. A couple of other applications that I use are Flipgrid, Edpuzzle, Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Sheets, as well as an application called Padlet. And I know it's not up here, but I'll try to make sure that I point that out again in the coming days. Make sure you know your email address. Remember, it's your last name, first name, middle initial, and then it's @live.gcsd.k12.sc.us. And your password is always your GAT password, which you've used multiple times in the past. Another good thing is to make sure that you have a quiet area in your house where you won't be distracted and has appropriate lighting. This will make things so much easier for you. Don't lay in the bed and try to watch a class. Try to go somewhere where you're sitting straight up. You can focus. You don't have a lot of noise going on around you, and it's going to be quiet. So those are going to be the areas where you're going to be able to focus and think a lot better than if you were sitting somewhere in an area where there's going to be noise or distraction. So try to make sure that you have a study area within your house. My contact information is listed here for you. Of course, this is my email address, bkwhite@gcsd.k12.sc.us. And then, of course, if you need to contact me via phone, you can always call the school and leave a voicemail, and then I'll be glad to get back to you. But I would prefer email. Email is going to be our main form of communication. So please make sure that you know my email. You have it in a place where you can find it, put it in your phone, whatever you need to do. That way, if you need to contact me via email, you can. So, some other things that you need to keep in mind since this is a virtual class is something known as netiquette. And this is just, making sure you're following proper etiquette while online. I'm not going to read through every one of these. You can read through them yourself, but a lot of them are common sense. The first one here under Be Scholarly: use proper language, grammar, and spelling. Be explanatory and justify your opinions. Avoid misinformation. Respect people's privacy, diversity, and opinions of others. Communicate tactfully. Avoid sharing anybody else's personal information while you're online. Um, Represent yourself well at all times. Avoid using profanity or participating in hostile interactions, which you guys should know that. Address others by their appropriate name or title, and avoid using sarcasm or being rude. These are all just basic things. If you want to go back through and read these, you can. And again, let's practice some of this in etiquette. One other thing too, breakfast and lunch for you guys is also going to be offered between 11 and 1. It is only available on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. You may send a guardian or a parent to pick it up. All they have to do in order to get lunch or breakfast is present an ID that can verify that they're related to you, and they're one of the people that is qualified to pick up these things for you. So any of those things will help, and it is free. So again, between 11 and 1 o'clock, you can go to the high school and have proper identification if someone is picking up for you. If not, just make sure that you have your student ID to pick up on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. My office hours, again, are from 9 a.m. to 4:15. I'm usually online a little bit before that, so around 8:30. You can probably leave me messages. For some reason you have to be out or you're not going to be here, you need to communicate with me. Just make sure that you communicate before class starts. And again, use the email. That's the simplest way to communicate and let me know that you are not going to be present, or if you have some sort of extenuating circumstance. And then I can forward that information on to the proper channels or through the proper channels to the school and district officials to let them know that you will be absent. Okay? So again, 9 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. are office hours. Some virtual expectations. Just again, I fully expect all students to be on time during virtual meetings. Attendance should take place at the beginning of each virtual lesson, which means I'll start taking attendance as soon as we start class. So please be on time so I don't mark you absent. If there's an emergency, please contact me or the school prior to the class period in order to receive credit for attendance. Again, we just went over that. Better to, let somebody know. You can either let me or you can email the school or call the school. Either one would work. All students must be dressed appropriately during the virtual session. You're going to wear whatever you would normally wear to school. So please be fully dressed and make sure that it would be the same as if you were at school. Also, all students must not have, show, or be doing any inappropriate things or actions throughout each virtual session. Again, school rules still apply even while you're in the virtual world. There will be consequences, possibly severe, if these things happen. Remember, all school rules still apply during virtual sessions. During synchronous instruction, you must be physically present on your device throughout the virtual session, which means I need to see your face. So as soon as you get on, make sure that you turn your camera on so I can see you. Um, Remain there throughout the synchronous instruction. Do not leave during the class period or during that block while we're doing synchronous instruction. If you do, then you run the risk of being marked absent. So again, physically present throughout the entire session. Please keep each virtual session as professional, educational, and appropriate as possible. Again, this is world history. So just to run through real quick, what is world history? Students will study the history of the modern world in the 10th grade, beginning with the time period of 1300 to the present. So we're going to cover a pretty good span of time. Students will begin by learning about the emergence of the modern world from 1300 to 1500, global affairs and interactions, 1450 to 1815, the rise of new governments and competition in the global community, 1815 to 1918, the emergence of new world powers from 1885 to 1950, and the world from World War II to the present, which is 1933 to the present. Students will learn all modern history through the lens of inquiry in order to study the world that the trade created, which led to the influence of interaction of various changes to culture, governments, ideas, innovation, people, religion, and revolution with an intent to create a citizen who has global perspective. So again, you can read through this if you want to, but this is basically the things that we will be covering. I've also put a pacing guide for how long we'll spend on each one of the new standards, as we are in the process of starting new standards this year. And there are 5 of them, and each one of them we will go for 15 days. So you can look at each one of these for world history. This is the pacing guide, but we will spend 15 days on each one. Again, here's the grading scale. This is the honors grading scale. 45% is tests and quizzes. 25% counts as classwork and quizzes. 20% are quizzes and classwork, and 10% is homework. So that's the percentage breakdown. So if you have a test is going to weigh 45%. If you have classwork and quizzes, it's going to weigh 25%. If you have quizzes and classwork, they're going to go 20%. And if you have homework, it will be 10%. So that's pretty much the honors grading scale breakdown. Attendance. Students are expected to be logged in and online at the start of each class. Students will remain synchronous for the first hour of each class. Sometimes that may vary a little bit, with the last half being asynchronous, which we've already talked about what synchronous and asynchronous are. Any student not present and logged into their class will be marked absent. If a situation arises, I must be notified before class starts in order for you to receive an unexcused absence. Again, we talked about that. You can either notify me or contact the school, but you must do it before class starts so that I know what's going on and the school knows what's going on. Students must be present the entire time during synchronous instruction. Discipline, we've sort of touched on, but just to go back through some of these, all school rules will be followed, just like if the student were in a brick and mortar school, meaning the way you dress, the way you talk, all of those things will be followed. Students will come dressed appropriately to virtual class. The use of profanity will not be tolerated. Anything pictured on the screen virtually that can be viewed as being offensive or obscene will be reported to school district officials. So again, basic rules. These are the basic rules for the class. Please make sure you know them and make sure that you understand what's expected of you while we are in synchronous instruction. Some helpful suggestions as you start this virtual program is to treat an online course like a real course, like a real school course, just like if you were there in school. Hold yourself accountable. Practice time management. Create a regular study space and stay organized. And we've talked about those things earlier. Eliminate distractions. Figure out how you learn best. Actively participate. Get the most out of your learning. Keep your instructor informed, and give and expect respect. those are just a few suggestions that I would highly encourage. Here's another one, especially since most of this class will be video, as well as these live instructions. If you have a recorded video, it's real helpful to pause and write a brief summary of what you have heard in notes every few minutes. You can either do this on paper or you can type it up. But I would strongly suggest, especially if you watch a recorded video, that you stop it every few minutes to sort of digest everything, write down what you've heard, and then continue on. For live video, especially if the video is available to watch later, I wouldn't necessarily take notes while the video is going on, but I would actually pay attention to what you're actually hearing and seeing and participate in a discussion afterwards to help you keep your focus. Raise your hand or virtual hand, or if we use the whiteboard, you can hold that up to let me know that you're wanting to ask a question. So, or you can ask the question in chat. So those will be the ways that we will go about addressing people when they need to say something, or if they want to answer a question that might be presented during the lesson. Some other suggestions: cut out the social media during synchronous instruction and silence your cell during synchronous instruction so you're not tempted to keep picking it up and looking at it. And again, try to pick a place where you can work and study quietly. Have a comfortable environment with a nice chair, a chair that sort of sits you upright and you can actually see what's going on. That puts you in a good posture. We don't want anybody to have any back or neck problems from having to lean over and bend all the time. And also pick a place where you're going to be easily visible to the camera and it's easier for you to see and hear what is going on. So those are just a few suggestions. Okay, so if you need to go back and preview or watch any of this other stuff that we just went over, you may do that at any time. You can go back and watch this as many times as you need to, just to make sure you're familiar with what will be going on during this semester. I look so forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. I hope you had a great summer. I hope you've had some great times off. And now it's time to get back to work. And I look so forward to meeting everyone and seeing everyone on September the 8th. Okay, I'll catch you guys soon.